Hi guys, welcome back. And if you're new here, welcome. I'm Annie and this is @beauty. Today I am going to be trying out the new Urban Decay Wired palette. So if you have been living under a rock somewhere and you didn't know, this is Urban Decay's replacement for their original brightly colored neon palette, which was the Electric palette. I know a lot of people were super sad when this went away and wanted them to bring it back. So they did, but they brought it back this way as the Wired palette. There are some similarities, there are some differences, and we will get into those in this video. So let's just go ahead and just dive in. Let's read what this the box says. So talk about shock value. Our Wired pressed pigment palette, a 10-pan collection of ultra bright multi-use pressed pigments will electrify any look. Get amped on these exclusive hyperfluorescent colors, some for face and body, plus some for eyes too. Dip into any of the shades for shockingly vibrant neon payoff, or mix them with Glitch, a pure white, to totally transform neon hues into ultra-modern pastels. Clearly, I did not try to do that today. I just used them as they are. I think I might do a video trying to mix them with Glitch to see what happens. So this is a pressed pigment palette. That means that there are shadows in this, or I should say shades in this palette, that are not FDA approved for use on or around the eyes. The nice thing about this palette, and I wish that other pressed pigment palettes would do this as well, is that they have actually marked those shades on the palette itself. So this is the outside of the palette. I think it's really pretty. It's got this raised lettering here. It says Wired. Urban Decay is raised in black. It's very hard to see. I don't know that the camera will even pick that up. And then you open it up, it's got the standard mirror, and here are the shades. I'm going to turn it this way. So the great thing is they have separated them. These four here that are kind of marked off are the pressed pigment shadows. The others are all eye safe. So I'm going to put this here so you can see it. And they have also added a little asterisk next to each name of those shadows that are not FDA approved for use on the eyes. So here is the thing about this, and you have to make your own decision. I'm not here to tell you what to do with your body or anything like that. Having done research after getting the Electric palette many, many years ago, and being totally freaked out that I couldn't put the pinks and the purples on my eyes, I did a little research and discovered that they are indeed approved for use on the eyes in European countries. It is just in America that we are far behind. The FDA is far behind everyone else in the world. They stain. That's what they do. They might cause eye irritation as well if you have sensitive eyes, but that goes for any shadows. So they do stain. If you don't want your lids to be stained, I wouldn't suggest putting them on your eyes. But for me, I wear makeup every day. It doesn't bother me at all. So yeah, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the tutorial, and then I'll add swatches and all of that stuff. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started with this first look using the Wired palette from Urban Decay. I am going to try to use as many shades as possible. So I'm going to start today's look with Switch, which is this orange color here. It is new to this palette. It was not in Electric, but Slow Burn, which is the more pinky orange, was in Electric. So taking that on this brush, this is the brush from the original Urban Decay Electric palette, I am just going to place that here in the center, not center, the inner portion of my eye.
Light me up, don't you stop, 'cause tonight it's on the line. Show me how you get on down. Close my eyes, take me for a ride.
Okay, look at that. I'm really happy with that. I think I'll scoot you in just a little bit more so you can see what's happening. All right, so that is the shade Switch. Now, Switch is a pigment, so it is labeled that it is not safe for use in the eyes in the USA, but it is safe in European countries. All right, so taking now, I think, Slow Burn on my Luxie 131 mini round or mini angled brush, right? So Slow Burn, I am going to just apply that next to Switch.
Got to be you. So come and light me up.
Next, I think I am going to take Savage, which again was in the original Urban Decay Electric palette. I'm going to pick that up on my, what is this called? Crease brush from It Cosmetics. This was one of my favorite shades in the Electric palette, and I'm just going to kind of layer that next to and slightly on top of Slow Burn. Okay, this one is taking a little more building up. Again, I am barely tapping my brush into this shadow.
Still want you by my side. Light me up. Let me touch the flame now.
And I'm running out of room on my eye, so I was going to go in with Shock, which is this new purple kind of lavender shade here. But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to use that to kind of blend out the top area. And then I'm going to go ahead and go straight in with Gravity right now, which is this darker shade here. This replaced Urban, I believe, in the Electric palette. I'm going to pick that up on, where is my favorite brush for this? Why can't I find it here? I'm going to pick that up on my Luxie 213 eye shading brush. So going in with Gravity. Okay, now I'm going to pick up Shock, which is that lavender shade here. I'm going to pick that up on my small tapered blending brush from Luxie. This is the 231. That's lovely. It's really pretty. And starting from the outer corner, we're going to blend that in towards the center to kind of
Light me up. Can't get enough. Take your time. Just do it right. We will rise to the skies. 'Cause we ain't done till we hit the sun.
So I feel like Shock is really blending this out nicely. I really like that I have no harsh lines happening here. And then to continue this blend, I don't want to take the purple over the orange. So what I am going to do is just on, do I have another? On my Luxie 237, this is a very tiny blending brush. I'm going to pick up some more Savage and I'm going to blend that over the edges of those oranges to blend that into that lavender shade.
So come and light me up. I still need your fire, baby. I still want you by my side. Light me up. Let me touch the flame now.
Not sure that I love the pink there. I think it looks a little silly. So I'm going to go back in with some Switch and we're going to just put that back there. Then going back in a little bit more with Shock. And we're going to deepen that outer corner up just a smidgen more with some Gravity.
Come and light me up. I still need your fire,
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do the other eye, get it to this point, and apply my complexion products, I think, and then we'll come back and finish up the eyes. So hang tight. Okay, so here is where we are so far. I've added some liner, I put my mascara on, and let's go ahead and do the lower lash line. So for the lower lash line, I am going to go in with some of these greens and blues. So we are going to start, I think, by going in with the shade Fluorescent, which is this shade right here. It's kind of a teal shade. I'm going to pick that up on a It Cosmetics smudger brush. It's a really pretty color. And we are just going to go ahead and pop that here in the inner portion. It's not quite as bright as I was hoping for down here on my lower lash line. But again, there's really no primer or anything for it to stick to, so kind of is what it is. Should have gone in with a liner, I think, first, but here we are. Right, so there is what that shade looks like. See if I can deepen it up a little bit more. All right, I like that a bit better. It's pretty, but not quite, like I said, not quite as deep as I was hoping for. Now I think I'm going to go in with, do I want to use Current? Why not? We're just going to use every single shadow in this palette today, every single one. We're going to go in with Current, which is this green shade here. This is the only one that in the pan looks to have a little bit of shimmer, but it's probably, if there is, it's probably not much. Taking that on my Royal Langnickel smudger brush, this is the BOM 18. I'm going to place that next to that teal shade. Those are just kind of blending together. I don't see much differentiation between the two. It's a little greener there, but not much. I feel like those two look so similar on the lower lash line. Definitely will need to try them all over the lid to see how they work on their own. Okay, I'm going to just wipe that brush off on my color switcher thing, and I'm going to go in with the shade Chaos, which is this bright primary blue here. We are just going to put that on the outer portion of my eye and making sure we blend that into the wing. And then, because I want to make sure I have a seamless blend, I'm going to go ahead, wipe that brush off again, and go in with Gravity and just attach it to the outer corner, making sure that is completely seamless. All right, I have two shades left. I have the white shade, which is Glitch, and the kind of chartreuse shade, which is Jolt. So I'm going to pick up Jolt on this Luxie 111 flat angled, mini flat angled little, I don't know what this is. Mini flat angled. It's very small, detailed. This one's got a little bit of glitter in it. I'm going to pick some of that up. That is such an awesome color. I'm a sucker for these kind of acid green shades. We are going to apply that right here to the inner corner. I'm going to try not to layer it too much because I think this would get muddy very quickly. All right, going in now with the last shade, the only one we have not used, and we're just going to use it to kind of blend things out and make sure everything is very seamless. We're going to go in with Glitch. That is the white shade. I'm going to take this on my Luxie 121 mini tapered blending brush. I'm just going to pick some of that up, and I'm going to blend the lower lash line with that. And I'm also going to use this as my brow bone highlight. So I'm going to pick it up on, what am I going to pick it up on? I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to use. I think I'll use this, I don't know what this is, mica, I don't know, it's some weird little brush, but it's just like an angled kind of fluffy but still somewhat dense brush. I'm going to pick up a little bit of that, and we are going to put that under my brow bone. Seems to be a pretty nice white. I'm glad that they included this instead of the silver shade that was in the original palette. That was my least favorite shade in the entire palette. All right, so here it is, the finished eye look. Okay, here are the swatches from the two palettes side by side. This is the wired palette, and over here is the electric palette. So from top to bottom, we have Glitch, Chaos, Shock, Gravity, Savage, Fluorescent, Current, Jolt, Switch, and Slow Burn. For the electric palette, I did try to swatch the shades that are the exact same. So that would be Slow Burn, Chaos, which is here, Savage here, and those are the 3 repeats, right? Yes, those are the 3 repeats. Then I put Jolt next, I put Thrash next to Jolt. They're similar, but I feel like Jolt is just a little bit stronger. It's a little bit yellower, which I like. And then these are the 2 purples. This is Urban over here, and this is Gravity from the new palette. Those are very, very similar. I feel like Urban has just a little bit more sheen in it. Savage, I really like a lot better in the electric palette. I feel like it is a stronger shade. It's just more pigmented. Interestingly enough, the feel, this is a very gritty shadow. This is a much smoother feel, which leads me to believe that this one has a bit more pigment in it, and this one might have a little bit more binders or something in it to make it a little more smoother. Slow Burn is pretty similar between the 2 palettes. So those are the swatches for the Urban Decay wired palette and the original electric palette. Okay, we are going to go ahead and get started with this eye look, comparing the Urban Decay electric palette with the new Urban Decay wired palette, and see if we can get the same look on each eye using a different palette. So on this eye, I will be using the electric palette, and over here I'll be using the wired palette. I will be using brushes, separate brushes for each one when I can. Sometimes I only have one of a certain brush and I may need to use that one, and so I'll just clean it off on my color switch here. Anyways, let's go ahead and get started. I think what we're going to do is we're going to use the pinks, purples, an orange, the blue, and the electric green. So we'll see how this starts. So starting with the wired palette, I'm going to go in with Savage, which is that pink shade, and we are going to use that as my transition shade. I did prime my eyes using my Urban Decay Primer Potion in Original and my NYX Jumbo Pencil in Milk, just because I wanted to try these over a white base today. Okay, we're going to leave that there. We are going to pick up a clean brush, going in with Savage out of the electric palette. So upon initial application, I don't know if you can tell on camera, looking in the viewfinder, it's a little difficult to tell, but in real life, this one is definitely more pigmented. It's darker. Let's get that on, and you can probably tell once I get it blended.
tell you want me, but don't make a move. That will only scare me. This love is just for you. Yeah, I got my reasons.
All right, so yes, I say this one is definitely more pigmented, the one from the electric palette. And it has always been like this. This is not something new. When I first got the palette, I dipped my fingers in them and they did feel quite gritty compared to some of my other shadows. So yeah, this one is grittier and more pigmented than this one here, which is from the Wired palette. But they are pretty close in pigmentation. This one's just a smidge brighter. So now we're going to go in with the purples. Now the original electric palette, the purple is called Urban. It does have a slight sheen to it, whereas Gravity in the new Wired palette is definitely a little more matte, but they are very, very similar. Swatched next to each other, they look almost identical. So going in first with Gravity, I'm going to use the back end of this Anastasia Beverly Hills brush. We're going to pick some of that up. We're going to place it in the outer V.
Why can't I receive? I'm too messed up to believe that love is made for two. That love is good to you. For me, it's never true. I'm too messed up to believe that you could heal my heart, that you won't leave a scar.
And I'm going to take the fluffy end of this brush and blend that edge out.
Still all I want is you.
All right, I think that's as good as we're going to get on that eye. We're going to go ahead and pick up Urban on another one of those Anastasia brushes.
I'm too weak for that. Still all I want is you. But don't feel the same. I can't love that way. Still all I want is you.
Okay, those two purples look pretty much identical on the eye. I can't really tell them apart at all in real life. This one may be a little bit darker. I might need to intensify this one a little bit. I am going to go ahead and I'm not going to do a full cut crease, but I am just going to apply a little bit of concealer and kind of feather that out so that slow burn has a nice spot to sit. Actually, maybe instead of concealer, I will just go in with a little bit more of my milk pencil. I'm going to just pick that up on the brush I use to blend it out, and we're just going to... Okay. Let's go ahead and pick up Slow Burn. To do that, let's see, which kind of brush do I want to use for that? I think I'm going to use this Luxie 213 eye shading brush on this eye and the It Cosmetic crease brush on this eye. They are very similar. If I need to, I will go in and clean off this brush. We'll see. So starting again with the Wired palette, we're going to pick up some Slow Burn. Is so pigmented. I really love this shade, and oranges aren't typically my jam.
Being honest, I don't wanna feel like I'm broken hearted, but I feel it's real. I got many reasons why I can't.
Wow. Going into Slow Burn in the Electric palette.
See, I'm too messed up to believe that love is made for two. That love is good to you. For me, it's never true. I'm too messed up to believe that you could heal my heart, that you won't leave a scar.
Okay, so here's where we are. I feel like they're looking very similar right now, which is either good or bad depending on your perspective. Okay, I am going to go apply my complexion products. The great thing is I don't have any fallout to speak of either of these. I do feel like my blend here at the top is not great, so I'm probably going to try to blend that out just a little bit more. I'll see how it looks when I come back. So yeah, I'm going to apply my complexion products. We'll come back. We will do the lower lash line. So far, so good. Okay, so here is where we are at. I just need to do my lower lash line and inner corner, and I'm going to do the same steps on both sides. I'm also going to kind of highlight my brow bone and blend out the top here of the shadow. To do that, I'm going to use the shade Glitch, which is the white shade from the Wired palette. There is no comparable shade in the other palette, so I'm just going to use Glitch on both sides. I want to just soften this up a little bit.
For me, it's always hard. Still, all I want is you. But don't hold me back. I'm too weak for that. Still, all
Okay, so for my lower lash line, I am going to use the shade Chaos out of both palettes. To do that, I'm going to use a smudger brush on each eye. This eye, I'm going to use the IT Cosmetics. This one, I am going to use the Royal & Langnickel. They both work about the same. So going in with Chaos from the Wired palette first, we are just going to pop that along in my eye, in my eye. That is a really pigmented shade. I really enjoy that shade. I would say that shade is exactly the same in both palettes. Next, I am just going to clean off those little brushes, and I'm going to go in with a little bit of the purple shades from each of those palettes just to kind of tie the outer corner in together. So starting with Gravity from the Wired palette, we are just going to bring that into Chaos under the eye and up to the outer V. Just to kind of marry those two shades together. We're going to do the same thing with Urban on the other eye. Okay, I feel like those look my eyes look pretty much identical. You can't tell which palette I used where. I did line my waterline with this LA Girls Shock Wave pencil in the shade Screamin'. Felt like we could use a little bit of yellow to tie in the green. So now I'm going to go in with the shade Jolt on my inner corner. That's from the Wired palette. To do that, I am going to pick up this Luxie 141 mini round brush, and I'm just going to pick up some of that Jolt shade. Ooh, too much. Tap some of that off. And we're just going to put that here in the inner corner. This is a fully matte shade. There is no shimmer to this whatsoever. Now I'm going to pick up a very similar brush, which is the Luxie 111 mini flat angled brush. It's pretty much the same. The tip is just flat and angled. We're going to pick up Thrash from the Electric palette. This is a much brighter green. It has a little bit more yellow in it. And I feel like the pigmentation there is better. So I don't know if you can, I don't think you can see this on camera, but this one is definitely more green than this one, which is a lot more yellow. I like them both. I don't know that I have a preference of one over the other. I think that they're both very pretty. I'm going to go ahead and use my lower lash line mascara here. I need a mirror or I poke myself in the eye. Okay, so here is the final look using both of the electric, both the Electric and the Wired palette. Again, This side is the electric, this side is the wired. Can you see a difference? The only difference I can see really is that inner corner shade. I'm going to zoom you in so you can get a really close look at that. Okay, so what do you guys think? I'd love to hear from you down in the comments. My final thoughts on these two palettes. Frankly, if we're going to be 100% real, if you already own the electric palette, you don't need the wired palette. If you're strange like me and want to have all the Urban Decay, then you would probably pick this up. There are a little bit difference in formulas in a couple of the shadows. So of course that pink shade, oh, let me open it up here. Savage here. Savage in the wired palette is, I think, definitely formulated differently than in the original electric palette. It is a little smoother to the touch. It's not quite as gritty, but the trade-off to that is that it's not quite as pigmented as the one in the electric palette. However, on the eyes, you really cannot tell a difference. It looks pretty much exactly the same. The other shades that are repeats, Chaos, which is this blue shade here, and what is this called? Slow Burn. Slow Burn are exactly the same. I didn't see a difference in that at all. As for the purple shade that we use today, so in this palette it is Gravity, the purple in the electric palette is called Urban. They also perform pretty much exactly the same on the eye. This one may be a tad more pigmented than Urban, but once on the eye, once you build things up, you can't really tell a difference at all. So again, if you already own the electric palette, you don't need the wired palette. I do like the addition of some of, I keep closing this and opening it again. I do like the addition of some of these shades. Like, I like that there's a white shade. I really hated the silver shade in electric. I thought that shade was pretty much useless, and I do like the shade Fluorescent as well. However, I kind of miss some of the shades that are in here. Specifically, I liked Jilted, which is this shade here. This is just such a pretty color, and that one does have a little bit of shimmer. It's more like a satin shadow, and I really enjoyed that shadow. I also really liked Freak. Okay, my camera rudely cut me off because my SD card was full, so I'm not sure where I left off. I know that I was talking about the missing shades. So yes, like I said, I do miss Jilted, and I do miss Freak out of this palette. This I did not miss at all, and I don't miss Gonzo. I actually don't mind that they added Switch, which is this shade here. Which is just a lighter orange. So yeah, overall, I'm really happy to have this in my collection. Did I need it? Absolutely not. If you did not have the electric palette, the original electric palette, and you wanted to try some neon shadows, I highly recommend this palette. I think it blends beautifully. Anyhow, yeah, I think that this is a great palette, and at $39, it is really not that bad for an Urban Decay palette. I do, however, miss this brush. I really wish that they would have included this brush again. This is the brush out of the electric palette, and I love this thing. I use it for everything. This edge here is great for like detail work up here around the crease and for actually applying shadows underneath. And this one here, this edge, is so small, so pointy. I absolutely love this, especially if I need to go in and fix something along my cut crease. This is fantastic. Adore it. Is this a standalone palette? I did get a cohesive look out of today's. However, the lack of shimmers drives me a little bit crazy. I love my shimmer shadows. It's just who I am. I like glitter, I like sparkle, I want all of those things. So while this is a great palette, and I am very happy with the look that I came up with today, I do wish that there were some shimmer shades. Not a deal breaker for me. I have a lot of other things I can pop on top of this look. So that being said, if you are in the market for a neon palette, I would definitely recommend picking this one up from Urban Decay. It is available on their website. I checked earlier this morning. Today is, what is today? March 1st. It is not, March 1st. Oh my God. It is not yet available on Ulta's website. It was supposed to be live at Ulta yesterday and it never showed up. I only picked mine up in the store. They actually didn't have them out on the floor. They didn't have them available to sell. I spoke with the manager. She had 2 in the back that they had reserved, that had been sent to them for, you know, to be the samples out on the floor. That's all they had in stock, and she was super kind, and she went ahead and let me purchase this one, which is the only reason I have it now instead of later. So I hope that was helpful for you. If you, like I said, if you already own electric, you really don't need this unless you collect them and want them all. So I hope, again, I guess I'm just repeating myself all over the place. I hope that this was helpful. If it was and you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to hit that like button down below. And while you're down there, go ahead and hit subscribe. It does get lonely when it's left untouched. And if you'd like to see more of me, please follow me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is @seemybliss_beauty, the same thing that I am here. And I hope you all have